Katie Wilson, the Socialist, hasn't even been sworn in yet as the new mayor of Seattle, and she's already doing what a good mayor of Seattle does: defend violent criminals.
In Tacoma, ICE officials are responding to Fox 13 after a Filipino advocacy group sounded the alarm about the health and safety of a man detained at the Northwest ICE Processing Center. Valerio Greggy Sorio, also known as Kuya G, has been in ICE custody since late February for violating immigration law. ICE says he has a criminal history, including domestic violence, theft, forgery, fraud, and multiple assaults.
These are the people who Katie Wilson wants to be treated with dignity and respect. Illegal aliens who beat women, who burglarize businesses, who assault people. And she has the audacity to end her statement with, "I will work to make sure that every resident of our city feels safe, secure, and respected."
So we're back talking about the Seattle mayor, Katie Wilson, and she will be mayor in a couple of weeks, and this is going to be one crazy experiment that the people down there are going to have to deal with. But she jumped off the gate defending a man with one of the wildest rap sheets I've seen in a minute. We're talking about domestic violence, assault, burglary, firearm theft, violating a protective order, and somehow this man became the hill that she wants to die on. All so she can make a political point about Trump and standing with the community. But what community? The victims are in the community? So today we're going to talk about this situation, what she said, why she said it, and what does that mean for Seattle, and why defending violent offenders is always a bad idea. Let's get into it. So Seattle got the new mayor, Katie Wilson. She's supposed to be the fresh start, the responsible, progressive, socialist, tax everyone as much as possible. We talked about her and her taxing policies and how that's going to be a bad idea. But what I wanted to talk about is this statement that she put out, blasting Trump in his comments about Somali immigrants. At this point, it goes with the territory. You could criticize the rhetoric. I remember a time where a politician didn't say the craziest things every single day. Now it's say the most provocative thing to get the most reaction. I don't really care about her attacking Trump on the rhetoric. It's the issue that she pivots to. She pivots to defend a man who is not only deportable, he's dangerous.
Valerio Greggy Sorio, also known as Kuya G, has been in ICE custody since late February for violating immigration law. ICE says he has a criminal history, including domestic violence, theft, forgery, fraud, and multiple assaults.
Filipino advocacy groups say while in detainment, he contracted ulcerative colitis, which they fear can escalate into colon cancer. Advocates allege ICE had his stitches removed early to expedite his deportation, a claim ICE has not confirmed. He was recently told to be on the next plane back to the Philippines.
What we're hoping for, what we're demanding for, is to stop his deportation. We want to see a free Kuya G, and we also want to see him go to a hospital where he can actually recover.
So let's read the statement real quick. Yesterday, I was appalled by the dehumanizing language the President of the United States used to describe members of our nation's Somali community. Today, I've learned that ICE intends to deport Greggy Sorio, who's been held for months at a Northwest detention center without proper medical care despite his precarious physical condition. We must not allow this repeated and intensifying cruelty to become normalized. I have some thoughts of what should be normalized. I wonder the victims of this man had the ability to live a normalized situation. I stand in solidarity with our immigrant communities who are under attack from the very government that should be protecting their human and civil rights. As mayor, I will do everything I can to stand with the targets of this needless aggression. I will work to make sure that every resident of our city feels safe, secure, and respected. This is your city. So you see right there, she wants to make sure that every citizen, every resident of the city feels safe, secure, and respected. So let's talk about the person that is going to be deported. Maybe he was probably the one that wasn't making things safe, secure, and respected. Let's talk about it because, Trump bad, ICE bad, immigrant good. But the immigrant you choose to defend, I don't think this is the example that you want. This is not a guy who overstayed a visa or worked at a bakery. This is not a guy who got one DUI 10 years ago. This is a man with multiple violent convictions, including hurting someone that he lived with, domestic violence. So as you see, Seattle mayor is showing us her priorities, and it isn't for the safety of the city. Domestic violence assault. So obviously that means anyone close to him suffered. A wife, girlfriend, partner, family member. DV is personal. It's painful. It destroys homes. Also, violation of a protective order, meaning the victim said, "I'm scared, keep this guy away from me." And he said, "Nah, I'm gonna keep going anyway." Reckless endangerment, putting other lives at risk. Also burglary, you already know what that means, and theft of a firearm. A gun was stolen. Not a laptop, not a bike, a gun. Federal law doesn't just allow deportation, it requires it. These are the exact crimes, domestic violence, firearms, that triggered the mandatory removal of this person.
We previously reported Kuyaji had one of his toes amputated, and according to advocates, he had stitches removed early to expedite his deportation. They've been rallying to get him the medical treatment they say he desperately needs.
This is a very serious medical crisis. He has actually been saying that he's feared that he will die in the detention center for months now.
In a statement, ICE officials say in part, quote, ICE medical staff are aware of his medical concerns and are ensuring he meets medical requirements before any travel.
So when the mayor frames him like he's some kind of innocent person, innocent community member under attack, it's political theater. And honestly, it's pretty insulting to the people that he hurt. And let's be real, does Katie Wilson really care about this individual? No, it's about Trump. He made a wild comment about Somalis. She saw an opportunity to clap back. She wanted that viral moment. She wanted the applause. She wanted to know the people. She wanted the people in Seattle to know that she's going to try to fight Trump tooth and nail when he is trying to get people deported out of this country. That's what she really wanted. But instead of picking literally any of the thousands of other hardworking immigrants in Seattle, legal or not, she picked this guy. She tied herself to defending a violent criminal, and she's doing it proudly like it's a moral win. This has all emotion to it with no logic at all. And here's the thing politicians never want to talk about. When someone commits domestic violence, you're not just hurting a person, you're hurting an entire household. There's kids, there's neighbors, family, everyone. So here's the question of Seattle's new mayor. Where's the part where you're going to say, I stand with the survivors of domestic violence? Where is the empathy for the person who needed a court order to be protected? It's absolutely insane. Somehow the city's leadership has decided that the offender deserves more attention than the victim. That is the kind of mindset that leads to more crime, more chaos, and more people unsafe. To my knowledge, there is zero verifiable medical record proving any kind of neglect. I believe that most of these facilities, like even an ICE facility, have medical staff. Real doctors. And the cool thing about the Philippines, like other places in the world, they have hospitals, they have specialists. This isn't the 1800s. So the medical crisis angle just feels like more of a compassion play. Everyone in jail suddenly becomes a medical expert when they're trying to avoid consequences. I'm sick, my back hurt, these is inhumane conditions, and I'm not going to say that doesn't happen. Unfortunately, many of those people are American, and we don't even care about that. We only care about the inhumane conditions of ICE facilities. Let's say he's not even lying that there's some issues. This stuff is not going to override violent criminal behavior. They could take care of the problem and still go back to the Philippines. Seattle is already struggling with open air drug scenes, random assaults, car theft, the housing crisis, police shortages, and the last thing they need a mayor to say is, hey, let me go defend a man who can't stop beating people up and violating court orders. Is these the kind of people that she's going to protect while she's the mayor of Seattle? That sounds pretty terrifying. It doesn't matter how you feel about immigration, legal, illegal, border policy. You could debate that all day, but we can't not debate is if someone is committing violent acts in this country, they're hurting people, they're stealing weapons, they're breaking into homes, then they ignore a court's orders, they can't stay here. They are hurting the fabric of society. Seattle deserves better and the victims deserve better. But let me know what you guys think about this story in the comments below. Thank you for taking time to watch this video, and I'll see you guys in the next video.